Tuesdays at 2 with your co-host, Vicki Samander, founder of the Secrets of the Sistership, and Constance Jones, Sistership board member and Vice President of Operations of the Houston Minority Supplier Development Council. Each Tuesday at 2, we will bring you experts who are sure to provide you with information that will inspire and empower you. This week, Constance will be talking to mental health experts, and we'll be discussing how to navigate and how to manage mental health during the COVID-19. And Constance, take it away.
Thank you so much, Vicki, and thank you again, listeners, for tuning in to our Tuesday at 2. So when we started Tuesdays at 2, we thought it would be absolutely wonderful to bring resources to the small business community to really help them understand how to navigate during this time. So what better way to start off the month than talking about mental health? You're hearing so much stuff on TV. Big media has actually started to make commercials about what's happening at home. We've now become educator, provider, teacher, everything at home. And so how do you maintain some type of stability through all that? And so that's why we thought it was really important that we talk to and bring in experts and professionals who can really help us kind of deal with and navigate some tools to help us be successful during this time. So we decided to bring in William Hill with Uncharted Territory Solutions and a group of others to kind of help us lead the way. First, before I introduce William, I really would like to take the opportunity to just thank him for his service. Will has been in the military, and he's also come home and is have been a first-line responder throughout the COVID-19 crisis. He also has been to New Orleans and helped out in that time. And so we really want to thank Will for taking out the time to participate today, to bringing together this unit of professionals to help us move forward, and just because he's here. So we want to make sure that we pray saving graces for Will over him and his family, but we also know that he's bringing us true and good information. So William Hill from Uncharted Territory Solutions. We have Dr. Malika Austin from Wellness with Dr. Austin, and we have Deandra Bartley with Serenity Health and Wellness. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Will, and he will provide us and start us off in our mental health solutions. Will?
Hey, welcome everybody. It's an honor to get to talk to you guys. I'm coming live from a COVID site where I'm here working at. I just wanted to take the time to kind of jump on and answer questions that anybody may have, and just kind of provide some information that's free. We all like free, so I'm a great resource. Try to give out as much information as I can. We have with us, like you said, Dr. Michaela Austin. She's a therapist in the Houston area, and Deandra, she's a F&P in the Houston area. They're both great resources, not only for mental health, for the whole health picture. For me, I'm actually finishing up my psych NP, so I graduate my nurse practitioner in July. So that's where my psych experience comes from. So a huge advocate, not only for the military, but for my underserved community. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I'll turn it over to the next to Deandra and Dr. Austin, starting with Dr. Austin.
Hey, hello everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you, Will, for inviting me to be a part of this. It's very important that we be able to have a voice in the community to discuss ways that we can cope with, COVID-19. We often know that in our community, information is not disseminated the way that it is in public, as well as other communities receive it. So I would like to address things that I am seeing that's going on from my private practice standpoint, from parents who are accustomed to going to work every day, and now they're having to work from home in addition to they have become school teacher. So they're dealing with not only trying to take care of their responsibilities of work, but how do they step into the role of the school teacher? And then you have those families who have a relationship, whether it's a live-in lover or an actual spouse, who are having to spend more time together during the stressful time, whereas you may not see one another until the afternoons or the weekends. Now you're seeing one another virtually 7 days a week, and how the stress and pressures are adding to that. So I would be interested in giving some tips to anyone that wants to know what can we do during this stressful time with COVID-19 to maintain our balance and our health and wellness mentally. Anyone has any particular questions they would like me to answer with regard to this stressful time?
So yeah, so Dr. Austin, just please share with us some of those tips that you're talking about, because that's me. You described me to a T in all of those forms. So share with us some of those tips that you would recommend we do.
So let's just start with the kids first, and then we'll go into the adults. So with the children, it's important that we're not exposing them to too much social media, as well as what's going on the news outlets. So while we want to keep our families informed, if you're getting inundated every day with news about COVID, the death, and the viruses, that's going to cause anxiety to the children, which is going to, in fact, invoke nightmares. It's going to invoke behaviors. In addition to the fact that they're not able to really go outside and socialize and go to school the way that they were, they're missing their friends, right? So now they're in the home and they're eating more too. So that's another financial component, because whereas food bill may have been a few $100s a week, for some people it's starting to add up very quickly to several $1,000s a week. So what do we do in a time like this where the kids are bored and they're also anxious because they're reading things on social media and seeing things, on the news, is that we start to create a schedule for our family and we educate them. We don't allow just the community or the news outlets of social media to be the teacher for our children. We talk to them. So we're going to take breaks. We're not going to watch the news every single day, because as quiet as it's kept, you don't need to watch it every day to actually be abreast on what's going on. The adult can go in and look at information on the CDC as well as the World Health Order to get the latest information. Talk to your kids, ask them about what is it that about COVID stresses them? What is it that gives them anxiety? And ask them, what is it that we can do as a family to help reduce some of those things? Create snacks for your kids where they're not allowed to go into the refrigerator and eat everything out of the fridge. And then you're going replenishing that grocery fridge every single week. And also story time, which is something that we can get back to. For the longest time, we've sort of been using social media and YouTube and all of the platforms that are very useful and very, important in our lives now, but we want to take it back to some of the old school things, reading stories, having, a movie night for the family. These things cause you to be able to bond with your children, but it takes some of the pressure off of reading all of the negativity that's going on. And the afternoon family time, which is, I would hope everyone's wearing their mask and still wearing their gloves. But when you go out in the evening time, put on your gloves and take a walk during your neighborhood along with your face or mask, and make sure that it's actually covering your face. I am noting that a lot of people are wearing their facial masks, but it's actually underneath their nose, which Deandra could speak more to that on what the impact of not properly wearing that gear is doing. It's a detriment if you're not wearing it properly. So I'll leave that portion to her, but put on those PPE things when you're going out into the community. Do those family walks. Sit out on your porch, whether it's your front porch or your back porch. Tell stories about growing up. This is a time to connect to the family. It could be very stressful, but we can find ways in coping that it's not stressful. For individuals who are married in a relationship, this is a time where I'm seeing that domestic violence is up. That is something that actually is in the news. And it's quite accurate, because individuals are finding that, hey, I don't think I like spending this much time with you Monday through Sunday. So I tell people, when COVID-19 subsides, don't let it take your relationship with it. So we need to start talking about realities of how can we best support one another, spend time with one another, but don't overcrowd one another. Don't have the expectation, because we're at home with one another every day, that we have to be in the same room, in the same space with one another every single day. Let's be realistic about our expectations. Then there's other things that are going on with regard to stress, where sleep patterns are off, because some of the kids don't have a schedule. So while you may have to get up and go to work in the morning time, your children don't, right? They're going to check in for a few moments in with their teachers. So that's completely throwing away adults' sleep schedules because the kids are up all night making noise. So let's get back to some routines in our home by making sure that we're conducting sleep schedules as if we were leaving the house, going to school and work the way that we were supposed to. It's about creating some normalcy in our lives. Questions?
That is great information. And I was just over here typing away like, okay, yes, let me make sure I write all these tips down, and immediately at 2:35 when we get off this call, we're going to have this family meeting.
Well, definitely
implement all of this, right?
Family meetings are important too, that families haven't been kind of meeting with one another, playing games with one another, talking with one another, just sitting down without the use of the television and, our devices, our cell phones, our cooking computers, and reconnecting, but doing family exercise and activities. So Deandra has a wonderful wealth of information about how to get fit. I personally go to her when I'm talking about what I need to do to get information about my own physical health. So I'll leave that portion to her as well.
And so I think that is a great segue into you, Deandra. So Deandra Bartley.
All right, thank you all for having me. Thank you, Will, Constance, Vicky, Dr. Austin. I appreciate it. My name is Deandra Bartley. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I am the co-founder and co-owner of Serenity Health and Wellness, located here in Houston, Texas. I am here to just bring awareness of how COVID affects each one individually, from a mental health, and as well as ways to kind of give you to decrease the mental anguish from a medical standpoint related to the COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic and resulting economic downturn have negatively affected many people's mental health. It created new barriers for people who are already suffering with mental illness and substance use disorders. And like Dr. Austin states, she see it every day, probably from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. or from the time she opened her eyes to the time she closed her eyes, she sees it. So it's there. In recent polls, nearly half of adults in the United States reported that their mental health have been negatively impacted due to excess worry over this COVID, stress over finances, and definitely again over the virus. As this pandemic continues to wear on, it is likely that mental health, the burden of the mental health will increase as measures is taken to slow the spread of the virus, such as social distancing, the closing of businesses and schools, the shelter-in-place orders. All of this leads to greater isolation and potential financial stress and unwanted depression for some. Some ways from a health and medical standpoint that I recommend to kind of decrease that mental anguish is exercise. Even going from your front yard to either your backyard, your body releases stress relieving and mood boosting endorphins before and after you work out, right? Which is why exercise is a powerful antidote to relieving stress, anxiety, and depression. Looking for small ways to add activity to your day, like taking the stairs, going for short walks around in the neighborhood, since we are at a stay-at-home order, to get the most benefit out of your activity. Though aim for at least 30 minutes a day. Try to do it outdoors. If some people don't want to be outdoors, there's YouTube. There's tons and tons and tons of videos on YouTube that you can utilize to get at least that 30 minutes of moderate intense activity. Now for some, some people are dealing with a little arthritis that may be kind of hard on their joints and stuff. Again, there's tons and tons of videos that you can find on YouTube to at least get that 30 minutes of activity in at least 3 times a day. Also, eat a good meal. A very good meal is also important. What you eat nourishes your whole body, including your brain. Carbs in moderate amounts now increases your serotonin, which is a chemical that has been shown to have a calming effect on your mood. Protein-rich foods, so that's your fish, your shrimp, your salmon, tilapia. All those protein-rich foods are good It helps to increase your norepinephrine and dopamine and tyrosine inside of the body, and it helps these endorphins help to keep you awake and alert, right? Vegetables and fruits, they're loaded with nutrients. They feed every cell in the body, including those affecting the mood, your mood regulating chemicals. Foods that are rich in omega-3, your fatty acids, again, your fish, your nuts, your flax seeds. All these foods are great to help nourish your body in the midst of all this COVID. I get a lot of questions about vitamins. What do I take? Do you know any specifics? I strongly recommend all of your good vitamins to help build your immune system, such as, again, vitamin D, your zinc, your magnesium, vitamin C, definitely ascorbic acid. Also, I also recommend the omega-3. All of these vitamins are good and definitely are a great boost in helping to build your immune system. Another thing I suggest is going to bed on time. Everybody's system is kind of messed up with the days and what time it is, and my God, I've been sleeping all day and it's 5-6 o'clock, trying to get to bed trying to get to bed on time is definitely good, and it'll help decrease your mental state as well. A large body of research have shown that sleep deprivation has a significant negative effect on your mood. Trying to go to sleep at a regular time each day, practice good eating habits to get better sleep. All of these things, again, can be effective and reducing stress, your depression, and overall increasing your mood during this COVID-19.
That's
So
great. Go ahead,
I was
William.
going to add something. For me, this is my third state. I've been to Seattle, so Washington. I've been to New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm currently working in Texas. One thing that I've realized, a lot of facilities we work at, they don't have contact with the family members like the family members would like, because you can't come to the facilities. So it creates fear, and people fear the unknown. This is all unknown. So I suggest we go back to the basics. They don't teach this in school, but coping strategies.
Yeah.
Everything you do relates to a coping strategy. So whether it's fishing, hunting, I don't suggest any of the negative things like the alcohol, any of that negative stuff, but the positive coping strategy. If we just go back to those basics, that's where we get started with this thing, coping strategies.
Yeah, I agree with Will. It's important for us to sort of take it back to some of the old school things, which is when I was saying limit your family's exposure to the news coverage. Be reassuring, answer questions, be a role model, keep up with the regular routines, but do family activities together. Write notes, because again, we do realize that right now, given that COVID-19, if you are not the individual sick, it's totally reasonable that you're not going to be able to be in the hospital with your loved one. But there are a lot of staff members such as Will who are out there, on the front lines, who are there with your loved one, supporting them as much as they can. Haven't been told that this is an issue, but sending a letter, because obviously you can't go up there, or FaceTime. But for individuals who are obviously on ventilation, then, FaceTime may not be ideal. But sending them a letter of reminding them of how much you love them. And for those that are not already in that situation, practicing, that self-care, being cautious when you're out in the cooking community. I would really love, because that's not my scope, for Deandra as well as Will to speak to the importance of still protecting ourselves, despite that the states have decided for their reasons to reopen. I would like each of them to be able to just, speak to our community in particular, how important it is for us to still maintain a bit of social distancing, to appropriately wear the gear that you have to limit your exposure. I'm not, being judgmental, but I'm concerned about my cooking community because I live in it. And it's disheartening to me when I go into a grocery store and I see an infant, with their face not covered. When I see a 5-year-old or 6-year-old and they're not, their parents may not be taking appropriate precautions, because they may start to feel that because the states have reopened for business at a certain level that we're now safe. The curve has not been flattened. The rate of infection is still increasing. And depending on your immune system and whether that you have the type of immune system that, can fight this, or whether you're going to be susceptible to it, it's ideal to still keep practicing that, social distancing, wearing the appropriate gear, washing your hands. So I would like Will and Deandra to really speak to that, because that's really their scope of practice.
Yes.
Go you
ahead.
want to go first? You want to go first?
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
From my perspective, that's absolutely true. I see tons of people, even here, and we're in a small town, and every time you go in the store here, nobody's wearing anything. From my perspective, the face mask, I feel like if people understand the rationale behind it, I feel like they would do it. So the face mask is to protect your fluids from someone else. So if everyone wears a face mask, ideally you're not projecting um, any virus or anything onto the next person. So ideally, our society would wear the face mask. And N95 is absolutely a different thing. So people get those two things confused. N95 keeps the stuff from coming in. Face mask keeps the stuff from coming out. That's the easiest way to remember it. So ideally, if we all have on face masks, we're out in the public, we can defeat this thing. So if no one's transmitting it, then it can't go anywhere, right? You stop the vector right there. So I'll let Dee Dee add on to that.
Yes, Will, I agree with that, and what Michaela said as well. I too have seen so many people in public places where it's hard to maintain that social distancing, that recommended 6 feet. It's hard to maintain that, and I have personally seen many people without a mask, just walking around like the COVID has completely ended. You guys, this is not the way to go. This virus is and has been recorded and transmitted to people who are asymptomatic, meaning you do not have to have any symptoms to transmit this virus. You can pass this virus asymptomatically, and the person who you may potentially pass it to may be the one to produce the symptoms. Okay, guys, y'all have to take this serious. Wearing the mask up above your forehead, down here below your chin, that is not the proper way to wear the mask. It is meant to cover both your nose and your mouth, as Will has said, and Dr. Austin has said as well. You wearing the mask to reduce your risk of getting the virus or any type of infectious disease. It's meant to repel blood and body fluids. Okay, when you speak out, your blood and body fluids, your body fluids, not your blood, sorry, your body fluid stays within the mask, and anybody that's speaking to you, it's hard for that mask, it's hard for their fluids to get into your eyes or your nose or your mouth, which is routes of how the virus gets into the body. Okay, so guys, y'all have to wear your mask properly. The glove situation, I'm seeing everybody with gloves on. Gloves is a way to protect yourself as well, but however, y'all have to switch y'all gloves up. Some people wear the gloves with the mindset of, oh, I'm protecting myself, but you're actually doing more harm to yourself than actually good, because you're not changing those gloves out. You're touching one item to another item. I've seen it. I've seen people get back into their cars with the same gloves that they use outside in the environment, and to me you're just transmitting and transferring all of those bugs that you picked up into your car. You're going to touch your car and then go into your house. Is crazy. The best thing I do recommend besides those gloves is your Germex. I don't know how many times to say it either, but Germex. You touch something, Germex in your hand. Touch something else, put some Germex. Until you get home, it can get to some warm water, hot water, and soap to wash your hands, to properly wash your hands, because it is a proper way to wash your hands. I do highly recommend Germex. Until you, some of you understand, again, the concept of not really how to wear the gloves, but how to use the glove effectively to protect yourself and others. I do highly recommend Germex out in the community to keep on yourself, hooked onto your pocket, in your purse, whatever, again, just to constantly just keep putting it in your hands.
So I'm gonna pause right there to talk about a program that HMSDC has called HMSDC Cares. And we launched the program a couple weeks ago to allow MBEs to purchase PPE supplies and equipment for a really economical price, because we're ordering the information in bulk. And so one of the things that we heard was that I can't change gloves all the time. I can't afford to throw away these masks after I use them. And so that's why we created and went to this product, to allow people to be able to do that at an economical price, but still keeping safety as paramount. And so you could go to our website at www.hmsdc.org, and you can order those products, and they come to you within, I think, a week or so. And so we encourage people to do exactly what you just heard William and Deandra talk about when we about changing the gloves and the mask, because all of that is truly important. And I think the most important piece of that is, if you go out, keep in mind what you're bringing in to your family, right? And so some of us who have parents who have kids that are, or are people with diseases that are more susceptible to getting COVID-19, you have to be careful about how you impact their immune system and staying with each other. And so that's very important as well. So Deandra, you talked a little bit about washing your hands. There's a proper way to wash your hands. I can recall the song, right, when I was teaching my daughter about how to do that. Too many adults not finna start singing a song, washing their hands, right? And so we've seen it on TV as well. We've seen some of the challenges that some people have had talking about singing that song, washing your hands. So why don't you tell us the madness behind that?
The madness behind washing your hands, again, is to reduce the contracted bacteria or virus that you may have probably contracted on your hands from touching an object that you may not know that you probably have touched. Again, microorganisms, bacteria, viruses, all that is invisible to the eye. So we're not conscientious of things that we have touched. So properly washing your hands for at least 2 minutes with soap and water definitely reduces the virus and bacteria on our hands. There's tons and tons of research out there that have shown and proven, again, that washing your hands for at least 2 minutes reduces that. Like, as you said, some people, don't have the time to sing the song. Find a favorite tune that you like to do, or a favorite tune that you like to sing, or again, it's less about I don't want to say what you wash your hands, because you want to do it with soap and water, but again, you want to make sure that you're washing your hands for at least 2 minutes. Okay.
And that may sound like a long time, right? But think about in perspective of, you rather wash your hands for 2 minutes or catch the virus and be ill for 7 to 14 days, right? So let's put it into perspective. Will, let me go to you for a bit, because you've been on our front lines, and like you said, you've been to 3 states. What is it that you would like to share with our audience, and any closing remarks that you would like to share with our audience in regards to what you're seeing out there, and what advice you would have for them?
I would just say that, hey, this is real. Like, this is our new way of life right now. Until they get us a vaccine, until they get treatment, we don't even have treatment right now. You go to Texas, they're doing something different than New York. New York is doing something different than New Orleans. So there's no treatment. There's no standard of care. So because that doesn't exist, like, we're going to have to deal with this. I know that it's about to warm up, and the numbers may go down and people may come outside a little bit, but it's not going anywhere. What about the fall? And it's affecting our elderly. So our elderly people don't deserve this. I've seen people pass away. One day they're doing good, and then it just progresses so quickly. So we got to take this serious and protect ourselves. Mental health is huge. And oftentimes, as the underserved community and minorities, we don't recognize the mental health aspect of anything. We don't. You have to use those coping strategies, not the negative ones. That's what everybody goes to. Do something different. Be the different person and inspire the next person. That's what I would say.
Okay. And Will, we didn't get to what your business actually does. So if you could share a little bit about what your business does and give them a way to contact you, that would be awesome.
So my business, we actually teach education. So right now, I haven't been hosting many courses because I was called for all these emergency responses. But we teach classes like OSHA, hazardous materials. We're looking at doing some COVID-19 training. For me, you can find my website at utllcnetwork.com. Again, that's utllcnetwork.com.
All right. Thank you, Will. And thank you for your continued service. We appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Dr. Austin, any last words? I do have one more question for you. So as you're giving your last words, in addition to how they contact you, I would like for you to answer. So for those of us who may not have, or who may thought they didn't have mental challenges prior to this, but are coming out on the other side of this and like, oh, I need to talk to somebody. I need some help into understanding how to get out this rut that I've been put in due to COVID-19. What are some immediate suggestions that you think people should do and enact upon in order to do that?
So some of the first things that I've seen, that a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have been furloughed. A lot of people have just been downsized, which doesn't necessarily mean that you lost your job, but you're receiving less income. And they're starting to feel like that they're not worthy. They're starting to feel like that they're not contributing to society or meeting the goals and things in which they set for their life. But as I often tell people, this is a pandemic. And given that none of us are in our 80s at this point that are on this panel, then we've never got to live through the Great Depression. We didn't get to live through the flu epidemic that ravaged the nation back in 1918. So this is a new reality for all of us. So I caution people in, talking down, having that negative talk about yourself, and understanding that COVID is changing all of our lives. But just because it's changed our lives now, it doesn't mean that we can't, recreate what our lives can be later, meaning that you may have lost your job, you may have been downsized, but Houston is a large, one of the largest cities in the United States, along with Fort Bend County. There will be other opportunities out there for us available. And when you're feeling that you're distressed, and you're feeling that depression, and you're feeling that anxiety, and you're feeling not worthy, then talk to a mental health professional. I always tell people it doesn't necessarily have to be me. Although we welcome people to come to our group practice, there are lots of mental health professionals that are within the Houston and Harris County, Fort Bend County, who are willing to sit and talk with you and help you strategize to rebalance your life. COVID-19 is taking with it a lot of lives, but we don't want it to take with it our mental health. We don't want it to take with it our relationships. We don't want it to take with it our peace of mind. We can recover, and we will recover, but we have to be, as Will stated, understand that not, I want to take it back to a Cardi B said, this coronavirus is real, y'all. So we really gotta believe that this is real and take the necessary precautions. Understand that stress is something that impacts us, mentally, but it manifests physically. So you can't just take care of your mental health. You have to take care of your physical health, because they work together in tandem. It's a team.
So Dr. Austin, you say something that we say all the time, that Houstonians are resilient, and
Yes.
we too will get through this and have that resiliency. As you were talking, I kept looking at that Care Bear sitting on your chair behind you. And we have to look at things that make us go back to a friendlier day, right?
Yes, and this is very telling of my age, but I asked my husband for many years when I was a little girl. I always wanted a Care Bear, and my family couldn't afford one back then. But my husband, I told him those stories about always wanting one, and he found one. Where he found it, I will never know, but he bought me this a few years ago. And and this is the Care Bear that encompasses everyone's problems. It's Kind Bear, and that's me. I'm always taking in my community's problems. This is a job that I signed up for. I love it. It means everything to me. I started this back when I too served, just like Will, United States Marine Corps, hoorah. My community means everything to me, and I want to be a warrior in it. I want to be a support and a guidance to it. We do have our services, Wellness with Dr. Austin Counseling Group. We are open 7 days a week. We have several therapists on staff, and we have wonderful partners such as Serenity Health and Wellness. So we have a whole team of people who are willing to make sure that our community has what it needs. They can find my site at Wellness with Dr. Austin, lcsw.com. And, and again, it's linked to Serenity Health and Wellness, where we believe in healthcare, mentally and physically work together. So we come together to try to make sure that our community has the resources that it needs.
And Dr. Austin, give that contact information one more time.
Sure. Wellness with Dr. Austin Counseling Group. Well, no, that's not correct. Wellness with Dr. Austin, lcsw.com. But if they stick that into any Google search, it will come up.
Thank you so much. And thank you too for your service. Deandra? You're on mute. Yep. Okay. Now we're ready.
So yes, in closing, I would like to go ahead and say, as Dr. Austin has said, y'all, this COVID-19 is real. However, we've gotten through many other disasters and emergency types of situations within the country, within Texas. But we can get through it. We will get through it. Each and every one has the power to take positive steps right now to improve your resilience and your emotional health. Don't wait until we in a crisis like this to make your mental health a priority. As Dr. Austin has said, Serenity Health and Wellness with Dr. Austin has partnered together to be a great service and resource for those who are struggling to maintain throughout their everyday. It's easier to form new habits when you're feeling strong than when you're down and out. You can, when you're feeling strong, you can then implement those habits. You can then implement those habits. You can then implement those habits that you've learned to feel strong about yourself and to make better decisions within your life. Slowly, we will put Houston back together. We will put the community back together. Again, new habits, new routines, some regular patterns that make any and everybody feel better about this change that we're going through.
So really, an hour and 30 minutes of exercise?
Not an hour and 30 minutes, y'all. I don't want you to exhaust yourself. If I tell you an hour and 30 minutes, I don't want to exercise anymore.
Ever. That's ever.
Quick, give it up. Now, 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes of some type of moderate activity. Again, that's first walk in the neighborhood. For the ones, again, that are scared to go outside, YouTube is your best friend. You can find tons and tons of videos to look at to get your activity in at least 3 times a day. I'm sorry, 3 days a week. Sorry, I don't want to overexert y'all.
Okay, and tell us again how to get in contact with you if we were interested in learning more or following you.
Okay, so I can be reached at www.serenityhealthandwellness.info. Telephone number is 888-258-1156. My physical address to the office is 507 North Sam Houston Parkway East in Houston, Texas, 77060.
All right, and thank you so much for participating in Tuesdays at 2. Ladies and gents, we definitely needed the information, and it was great information to be able to have and to be able to communicate forward. One of the things that, for those of you who know our founder with the Secrets of the Sistership, Vicki Samander, is she has a huge heart. And with that, she tends to take on the emotions and problems of our community. And so I just appreciate her that she recognizes that there is a real need and that we are doing things to actually be of servant to our community. There was a few comments that was made throughout, and we talked about fear. And so one of the first things that we started off in the organization was having a workshop of faith over fear, right? And so although we are faithful, we do need to understand that there are some things out there we still need to do in order to help us get through this epidemic. And so we just like to thank you for your participation. Thank you for your service, and thank you for the information. I mean, I got good information that although I may have heard it in bits and pieces, sitting down with you ladies and with you, Will, gave me a timeline to be able to get some of this stuff done. And knowing that I don't have to turn around and do it all right now, that I could just do some piece by piece that will help my stability. So it helped me with great information. So we thank you again for your participation.
You're welcome.
Next week on Tuesday at 2, we will have Hope Malvo with the VO Professional Services Organization. And so she's going to teach us some information and share with us some of what you heard today with the strategic alliances, how to understand and pivot during this time, and how to work our businesses and be ready for post-COVID-19. So we look forward to having you next week at Tuesday at 2. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Will.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.